Hello YouTube, this is Way Too Long, coach of the FC Seviper, for bringing you week number 6 of the PFL, in which we did not really perform well in the last matches, so anything can happen in the next. This week we're up against the Ontario Omastars, coached by Vampire 218, and this time I'm happy because I can say this the first time as long I'm making videos, all this many videos I made so far. So if you want to see the other perspective of the game, you can actually see it on his channel, which I will include in the description. And also for the first time, if I remembered it, I put my opponent's team somewhere on the screen. I don't know if it's above or below my team now. You will see this. So up first we have Guacamole the Excadrill, this time with Choice Scarf Sandforce, with Earthquake, Iron Head, Stealth Rocks and Poison Jab. Earthquake is there because it hits a lot of our opponent's Pokemon. I think nothing is really is has Levitate or is flying on this team. He had like Skarmory, but he traded it away. So if we manage to get a Sand Up, which will spoil our next team member, and then with Sandforce and Choice Scarf, Earthquake, this thing will whack house. Hopefully. And we are Choice Scarf, but we also have Stealth Rocks, so we can bluff that we are not Scarfed, that we're maybe Sand Rush. And this is my reason is here, so if we have to take on the Blaziken without Sand, our opponent will think, okay, I go for 1 Protect, because obviously it's not Scarfed, it doesn't have Sand Up, so the Sand Rush is not active, and our opponent goes for 1 Protect, gets the Speed Boost, and then thinks can outspeed us. But since we have the Choice Scarf, and we are full speed investment, and Excadrill has base 88 speed, Blaziken is only 80 base speed, Excadrill can catch him off guard, hopefully, and destroy the Blaziken. And we also, if we get our rocks up, we can break Focus Slashes on it. And we have Poison Jab here, so if our opponent brings Shaman, I will have to plan a little bit different, because of course Shaman resists Earthquake. Yeah, the Poison Jab is just there for Shaman, which if it's not Scarfed we will outspeed too. Then as I basically spoiled it with the Sand, Hyperion is back, Hyperion the Hippowdon, holding the leftovers with, of course, with Sandstream. Pretty basic moveset. We have Earthquake, Stealth Rocks and Toxic, and we also have Protect. And since we're up against Wobbuffet, I will have Toxic on some of my mons, so I can take on the Wobbuffet, since Wobbuffet is a really big threat on our opponent's team, and I would like to just get a Toxic off and then start to whittle it down until one hit can actually kill it. We are pretty high investment in HP, 248 EVs, 8 EVs in attack, and the full investment in defense with the Impish Nature, so this is basically our physical wall. Then we have Pastafari the Tangrowth, also holding the leftovers with Regenerator. We have Poison Jab, again for the Shaman. We have Substitute. I know Substitute didn't really work well last week, so this week I will try again, setting up a Substitute on a switch and then just hit our opponent as hard as we can. We also have Power Whip on Knockoff, 248 investment in HP, 176 in attack, 76 in defense and 8 in special defense. We also have Careful Nature, so we get a little more bulk in special defense, but overall Tangrowth is here and meant to be more offensive. I can pretty much tell that our Hyperion will be the only really defensive Pokemon on that team. So after the really harsh loss of last week, I kind of want to break through this and just bring as much offense as I can, with only one really defensive Pokemon, and basically we'll go back to the old Gen 1 or Pokemon Go gym fights times and just smash on our opponent until we beat him. Then we have Kidis the Miltank, also Choice Scarfed with I might change Thick Fat actually to Seviper. For Shaman, if we manage to switch into a Seed Flare on the switch in, we can take the attack boost, and then we have Ice Punch, Earthquake, Zen Headbutt and Body Slam. Of course our opponent can bring a Ditto, then we have to switch out and at best go into Hyperion to take the physical hit. But then again, we are also Scarfed, so the Ditto is not guaranteed to outspeed us. Same with Excadrill. If our opponent brings in Ditto, hopes to copy the Sand Rush. And then with the Choice Scarf, of course, we have the chance to Speed Tie and actually outspeed and destroy the Ditto, which would be really awesome. That's pretty much the reason why I have 2 Scarfers this week. We have full investment in attack, full investment in speed, and 4 in special defense. With Johnny Nature, again, as I said, really offensive. Then we have for the special offensive, basically our evergreen on the team, Basketball, the Mega Magnetic. We have, of course, Lightning Rod before Mega Evolve. We have Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Hidden Progress for the Seismitoad, which is a threat that we can deny. Can always switch in on our electric type attacks, and then we have Hidden Progress to counter it, and I also have Toxic here again, mainly for the Wobbuffet. I would more like to not bring Toxic on 2 months this week, but the Wobbuffet pretty much forces this onto us, and I prefer to be prepared for Wobbuffet, and he brings it then not to be prepared for Wobbuffet. And since Toxic can still do a good amount of damage to our opponent's team together with Stealth Rocks, if we get those up, we can basically choose to whittle our opponent's team down in health. And then we have probably a really risky set this week. I wanted to bring this one time in this season, but since we are pretty much on the edge now, even if it's stupid to say maybe, since we are still on the top of our league with 3 wins and 2 losses, but I wanted to bring this set. Yeah, so let's see, we have Kingwa of the Soul King holding the Colberberry, and not with Regenerator, we have Own Tempo. And the reason we have Own Tempo, I would prefer to have Regenerator, of course, but as you see on our first move, we have Counter. And apparently Slowking, Slowbro, Slowpoke can only get access to Counter if there are Own Tempo, which is because it's like a special move from Pokemon Gale of Darkness. And then of course Slowking, Slowpoke, Slowbro didn't have Regenerator, there were no hidden abilities. And I wanted to bring Counter Slowking at least one time in the season, and this time I thought it could be a good choice because with Colberberry we can actually take 1 knockoff from Weavile, which then will do like 70% to us. And of course Weavile is like, oh yeah, I can take on a Slowking. Slowking cannot really touch a Weavile, of course. And then, yeah, I really hope that the Weavile, that he brings it and that he switches it in on our Slowking, then goes for knockoff and we destroy it with Counter. Yeah, we also have Slack Off since we don't have Regenerator, so we have to keep Slowking healthy if the Weavile decides to come later. We also have Psyshock, which would help against stuff like Blaziken, and of course in here Blaziken with knockoff is not that uncommon, and with the Cobra Berry we can take even a +2 knockoff from a Blaziken and then kill it back with counter. But of course I have pretty much to decide because this only works once. I prefer it for Weavile, and then we also have Shadow Ball for stuff like Mew, or if Ditto comes in, copies Slowking, then we have something to hit it. It also works for Wobbuffet. We have nearly full investment in HP, full investment in special defense, and 8 in special attack. No really investment in defense, since, as I said, with Cobra Berry we can definitely take a knockoff from a Weavile. Of course, this is the most risky set, I admit it. If I screw this up, as I did in the last weeks when I had really special dedicated sets and I lost them very early in the game without using them what they were supposed to be. Example is the Air Balloon Toxic Quirk in week 4, where I just let the Air Balloon go down against my Lodic instead against Landorus or something. Yeah, I know it's risky. I know this can cost me, pretty much can cost me the match if it's not working as I planned it. Well, but it's our first season. I would like to experiment a little bit with Slowking, and if it works, it's even better. So, yeah. Even if we lose, we at least had fun with a more uncommon set. And with these words, it's just maybe an hour, maybe a few minutes before the actual battle, and I see you at the battle. And here we are in the match, and as we see, our opponent brings Seismitoad, Heliolisk, Volcanion, Mew, of course Ditto, and the Shaman, and we see no Blaziken and no Weavile. So the Slowking set seems to be pretty worthless now, but I can make some use of it still, since it is still a very good special ball. It can still attack with Psyshock and Shadow Ball. It can take on the Mew. It can probably take on the Volcanion, since Slowking is so specially defensive. And what really relieves me is that there's no Wobbuffet. So we do have Toxic here, but I'm sure, even though just like the Slowking moveset are Toxic on Manectric and Hippowdon, at least one of them will make some use. So here we are, and our opponent leads with Volcanion as I lead with Hippowdon, immediately trying to get my sand up. And since I don't really know what he plans, since me switching out might be too obvious, since Volcanion is famous for Steam Eruption, I just go for Protect to see what he does. And he does not switch out, and he does indeed go for Steam Eruption, probably because no one on my team can really take this, except for Slowking, of course. So expecting the next Steam Eruption, I switch out into King Ralph. Taking the Steam Eruption, of course, just to 70%, we get no burn, which is pretty good, and both get Sandstorm damage. Then of course the Ditto comes in, and I pretty much predicted that and went for the Shadow Ball to get a nice chunk of damage off, see nearly a third. And of course Sandstorm does even more damage here. And I immediately switch out into Miltank, because the only two attacking moves, as I know, the this Ditto has now Side Shock and Shadow Ball, and of course Miltank is immune to Shadow Ball, and it can tank the Side Shock with its physical bulk, even though I didn't really invest in it. And as I expected, the Slowking does want to take on my Slowking and goes for Shadow Ball, which of course Miltank completely resists. We get a free switch in here, and then Ditto switches out into the Mew as I just go for Body Slam to get some damage off. We didn't get the paralysis, which is pretty good even for us because of Mew's Synchronize. Since Miltank is Choice Scarfed, I don't really want it to be really slowed down. And then whatever the Mew has to take on us here, King Wolf has to tank it too. We take that pretty easily. Mew gets some leftovers recovery, and then I'm not even afraid of Shadow Ball. Anything that Mew will do to King Wolf will do so much, so I go for Slack Off on the switch, and here with the Heliolisk of Force you can expect Electric or Grass move, so I switch in Lightning Rod Manectric, which has to take the Grass Knot, which is a little bit unfortunate. He went for the safe play here, and here because my internet connection was pretty lagging at this point, I clicked my move, forgot that pretty much I saw that I forgot to click Mega Evolve. I went back and clicked Mega Evolve, clicked the move, but of course thanks to the lagging, Showdown did not recognize the Mega Evolution, so Basketball stays a normal Manectric, which won't have that much impact on the following game. So next turn I Mega Evolve after getting off the Toxic on the Seismitoad. I get the Hidden Power Grass off, and even though with an Intimidate here we have Stealth Rocks, so the Intimidate on the Seismitoad instead on the Heliolisk didn't really make a difference here, since it didn't go for a physical attack, and following turn it goes down to poison. Then of course Shaman comes in, and since he saw that Manectric has Hidden Power Grass, which did a good chunk of damage to Seismitoad, enough so that the poison can kill it. Of course now he knows that I don't have Hidden Power Ice. I still could have Hidden Power Fire, but apparently he was willing to take this risk. So I expect like a Seed Flare and switch in Miltank here, but he goes for the Earth Power, straight for the super effective move, which unfortunately drops our special defense. And here we see a very interesting play, so I switch out into King Wolf as the Shaman goes for Sword Stance. And also have to say, between this point, between turns 11 and 12, my connection completely went down. I came back like 2 minutes later. Thanks to Vampire, he waited, didn't start the timer or anything, so we can basically go on with the match where we were at this point. So I didn't really see the Sword Stance before. I just come back in on the game and I see a +2 attack Shaman, which kind of confused me at first. But now, since Slowking is not that physically bulky, and I actually went into the team building, the team builder option, looked for Shaman's physical moveset, and unfortunately for us it learned Seed Bomb, so I expect the +2 Seed Bomb here, and this time I thankfully have Sap Sipper on Miltank and not Thick Fat, and this time he goes for the Grass Type move. I switch it in, get the +1 attack, And thanks to the Choice Scarf, I outspeed Shaman and get a wonderful chunk of damage off with the Ice Punch. But then Shaman kills me back with Zen Headbutt. But Kidis pretty much did her job here. She really weakened the Shaman, so I bring in my it is meant to be very offensive, but as you know, Tangrowth has a lot of physical bulk, so I know it can tank even the +2 physical hits, and it pretty much just has to take one of those. So Shaman goes for Zen Headbutt, which does like 40%, but of course I see Life Orb recoil, so I just go for the Substitute, and thanks to leftovers I get enough health back to later set up a second Substitute. And now I know if he wants to break this Substitute on Pastafari, he will go down to Life Orb, so I go for Substitute again. Shaman goes down to the Life Orb, bye bye Shaman, and this is a really big problem for us out of the way as I go for Substitute again, since now if I get the Sand up, Sand Force, Choice Scarf, Excadrill will destroys everything on our opponent's team. The Shaman was a little bit of a problem since it resists the Earthquake, so I would have had to go for Poison Jab there, lock myself into Poison Jab, and then switch out, switch back in. And now we have the Shaman out of our way. We have Tangrowth at 4% of its health with a Substitute off. Even with the Stealth Rocks it's no problem, since Tangrowth has thankfully Regenerator. So now leftovers gets us a little bit health back. So now Mew comes in, and then I know I can freely go for knockoff here since he has to break our Substitute first. So I go for knockoff, do a good chunk of damage, get rid of the leftovers, which is pretty nice. Get more leftovers recovery, and then I have to switch out, he knows that. And as I go into King Wolf, my Mew counter here, he goes for the Roost. And now expecting my Shadow Ball, he goes into Heliolisk to since it's immune to Shadow Ball, but I expect that, and go for the Psyshock, which does 63% to the Heliolisk, which is now even more weakened. I bring in Baskerbolt back, as the Heliolisk shows that it has U-turn, which gives him of course some momentum here. And Ditto comes in, takes our Mega Manetrix form, then goes for Volt Switch, and here I know I have to let Manetric pretty much go down. It's got its kill, it got rid of Seismitoad, so I go for Toxic here on the Mew, on the switch end, get Synchronized Toxic, and now I know Basketball, your game is over. But Mew is Toxic, I get a Thunderbolt off, do even more damage. Mew is now below health, and Mew can kill Basketball with Psychic, but it has to take more toxic damage, which leaves it pretty crippled. And now, of course, against Mew, King Wolf comes back in. And now, this time, instead of Heliolisk, we see Volcanion, as I go for Slack Off, get back to full health. And as I said in the beginning, Slowking can take on Volcanion every day. It gets poisoned by the Sludge Bomb, which is a bit of a problem, but Psyshock does more damage than Sludge Bomb, and he sees that. Now he knows that Volcanion cannot really take on King Wolf as he goes into Ditto. He sees our complete set as I think. As I go for Psyshock again, get some damage off, and at this point I know if I get Ditto low enough on health, Excadrill, Sandforce, just like I said with Shaman before, Sandforce, Choice Scarf, Excadrill can clean up. I know thanks to the choice scarf we have a speed tie with Ditto, so we have at least a chance. If he switches Ditto back in on Excadrill, takes our Excadrill's stats. But why risk the speed tie if I just can take our Ditto now and don't have to worry about the speed tie, right? So I know I can take a Shadow Ball here. I also go for Shadow Ball, bring Ditto on 9% health. And now I know I can let King Ralph go down to poison or to Ditto's Shadow Ball, whatever kills us first. I just go for Shadow Ball on the little chance that Ditto's Shadow Ball does not kill King Ralph here, and I can kill it back, which would be even better. But then I know Ditto is at 9% health, it's locked into Shadow Ball. It's locked into Shadow Ball. It does get a high enough roll to kill King Ralph here. And here I know I can just go into Hippowdon and set up Stealth Rocks, and since Ditto is at 9% health and does not get the Regenerator, which is a nice side effect of our tactics here, Ditto cannot come in on Excadrill. It just dies to Stealth Rocks. Since Stealth Rocks do 12% damage and Ditto is at 9, do the math. Ditto is down now. Of course, he brings in Heliolisk as I get up my 3 Stealth Rocks, and I expect a Grass Knot here on the next turn. I know I can take it, I just go for Earthquake. I'm really willing to let Hippowdon go down at this point, that's why I stay in. I didn't even expect to live the Grass Knot, but Hippowdon lives it and kills Heliolisk with Earthquake, which is awesome, which is just awesome. But as I said, I'm willing to let Hippowdon go down so I can bring in Excadrill and clean up with Choice Scarf, Sandforce, Earthquake. So Mew comes in, kills Hyperion with Psychic. By Hyperion, you did your job. You helped us win here. Mew gets even lower with Toxic, and now it's time for Whack-A-Mole. And I just have to click Earthquake here. Earthquake kills Mew. Then Volcanion comes in, takes a lot of Stealth Rock damage. It goes down to Earthquake too. And same turn, Sand goes down, Mew comes in and dies to Stealth Rocks. And this is the match, folks. We finally, after 2 losses the last 2 weeks, 2 really bad losses, especially the last week, we finally got a win. We win 2-0 against Vampire. I actually had a lot of anger going into this match, 90% on me for the performance I gave last week, and 10% on this one guy who took too long as his name for Pokemon Go. Pretty much stole my name. Thank you. Now I have way too long still. Now I'm on Pokemon Go, it's way too long. But I would have preferred to just get too long. And since every time I start a Pokemon game, I just pick too long, and way too long. Yeah, thanks to that guy. Yeah, and with this, I'm pretty much satisfied here. And everything that didn't went well, or went catastrophically last week, now this week it worked perfectly. Like the extra substitute set. Last week on Darmanitan it completely failed. It basically got me to the point where I started panicking and it lost me the match. And here substitute on Tangrowth saved me against the setup Shaman. Let it go down to its own life orb. Let me get the knockoff on the Mew and so forth. The only thing that was like last week now is like the misprep for some of opponent's Pokemon that weren't even there. But at the end it's better to prep for every of your opponent's Pokemon, even though it just takes on some move slots that you probably would have needed for the 6 months you're facing. But I think that's a minor problem. Since we won 2-0, we're back on, I wouldn't say the playoff race, since there are still 2 matches that I can horribly lose. But yeah, we have 4 wins now, and we have like the minimum of wins I wanted for this season, or I hoped for. As I said last week, if we go out 4-4 out of this season, I'm pretty happy, since it's my first season ever. And now we have 4 wins. So now everything is just bonus, and maybe I won't say it too loud, maybe we can make it to the playoffs, which would be nice, which would be yeah, surprising for me. So with these words I say GG this week. We both did a good match here, and I see you next week when I actually have another really good cool new thing for you and for me for the video. So let's look forward to this, and peace out.